Hi everyone, I hope you're having a good week. This lesson we're going to start annotating our score of Eine, Kleine, Nachtmusik. So first of all you're going to need some paper to write on, something to write with, and you can pause the video now and do the do now. So let's go through the answers to these together. An anacrusis or an upbeat is when the phrase begins on the last beat of the previous bar. These meters, the meter that is shown here has got 2 beats per bar, and those beats are both divided into 3 subdivisions. So we know that that's compound time, and because there's 2 beats, that's duple, so it's compound duple time. Dynamic markings, these are something that we looked at last week, and these 3 mean piano, which is quiet, forte, which is loud, and mezzo forte, which is medium loud. Melody and accompaniment texture would be called homophony, and the Italian word that we learnt for fast is presto. So mark your answers there. In today's lesson, we're going to listen to the first 8 bars specifically of Mozart's piece that we've been looking at, so that we can describe its instrumentation, tonality, and tempo. So first of all, I'd like you to watch this video, the link is in the description box below, to recap what we've learned about this piece. You might like to also remind yourself of how the piece goes, so I've linked the piece in the description box below as well, so you can go and listen to that. So pause the video now and do those things. So we're going to look at a few things a bit more in depth during this lesson. First of all, let's recap what the instrumentation is. You would have just seen in that video that this piece is for string quartet, and we know that it goes down in pitch, so the highest part here is for the highest instrument, the first violin. Then the second part is for the second violin. The viola is a slightly bigger version of the violin, so it plays the third part. And the fourth part, which is at the bottom, plays the bass line, so it's in the bass clef. And it's the biggest instrument because it's the lowest, called the cello. So there's one thing on this score that we have never seen before. And I want you to have a look at it now and think and see if you can see what I might be talking about. What I'm talking about is this right here. What is this? Well, we know that these here are the treble clef, which means that it's high. The pitch of these parts are high because it's in the treble clef, and this part is the bass clef, so the pitch of this is low. For example, these top 2 parts sound like this. That's quite high, and this bottom part here sounds like this. So it's a lot lower. What about this one here? Well, it's a new clef. So on the next slide, I'm going to tell you about this new clef. It's called the alto clef. So just in the same way that for singers, it goes soprano, alto, tenor, bass in terms of range. In the same way that the violin 1 plays really high notes, the violin 2 plays medium notes, the viola plays medium low notes, and the cello plays very low notes. So that's why this is called the alto clef, because it's lower. It's a bit lower than the treble clef. And I'm going to teach you how to read it now. So this curly sign here, you can kind of think of like an arrow which is pointing to this middle line. And this middle line is where C is. So on this clef, this middle line represents C. It also represents what's called middle C, and middle C is the middle C of the piano. So if I play middle C, it's there, and then there are 3 below it. My piano doesn't even go as low as this one, and then there's 3 above it as well. So this C is right in the middle of the piano. You can hear it's a middle pitch. It's not very high, it's not very low. And that is the middle that comes in the beginning, the middle of the stave here. And this is the clef that's always used for the viola instrument because it's got a medium pitch. So let's have a go at seeing if we can label some of these notes just to test that we understand this. If this is C here in the middle, then that must mean that this note at the end is a C because it's on that note. Well, it's a C sharp because it's got a sharp on it. But how do we work out the other notes that are above it? Well, we can use the alphabet. So if I use C here, I can go C, D, E, F, G, A, B. So that first note's a B. What's the second note going to be? C, D, E, F. C, D, E, F, G. C, D, E, F, G, A. I could have saved myself some time there because I worked out that that one was an F. I could have gone F, G, A. C, D, E, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, E, C sharp. So you just have to, at the beginning anyway, always work it out from C. That's the safest way of doing it. And actually, I still do that sometimes as well when I'm not sure, because I'm not very familiar with this clef. So in conclusion, this is called the alto clef. The viola always plays with this clef, and this middle line is C, so you need to work out the notes from that middle line. So now that we've thought about the instrumentation, I think it's important that we make a note of that on our score. So we're going to do what's called annotating it, and you might want some coloured pens like I've got here to do that so that you have this in your notes. I definitely think it's important that we make a note of the viola part there. So instead of using a colour, I'm just going to go in with my pencil right here, and we should label that this is an alto clef here.
And that the middle note there is where the C is. The middle line is where the C, and I might even write middle C so I know. And then I know that I can count from it. Then you know that you can go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and that's a B, F sharp, G,
A, etc. And you can label all those notes if that would help you, because I know that it took me a long time to recognise what those notes were. So I think it's also worth noting that the whole piece is for a string quartet.
Instrumentation. So I'm writing instrumentation equals string quartet. So that I've got that in my music as well.
Now we're going to have a little look at meter again. Pause the video now and just think about, what do we mean by meter? What are we describing on in the music when we talk about meter? So when we talk about meter, we're thinking about the time signature at the beginning of a piece of music. And that's these numbers here. And we know, as we talked about it last week, that this piece has 3 beats per bar, and we can see them here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it carries on with 3 beats per bar, and those beats are crotchets. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, so it's got 3 crotchets per bar, and that is the meter, and we can work that out from the time signature. Let's make a note of that meter in our score as well now. So I'm going to take a different coloured pen and just circle that time signature in every part right at the beginning there. I'm going to write that it tells me that it's in simple triple time. And I could even, if I can fit it in, I'm going to write 3 crotchets per bar. Moving on to tempo, this is also to do a little bit to do with meter, and it's how fast are those 3 beats per bar. I want you to click on the link in the description box to listen to the piece and decide what kind of word to describe a tempo marking, and we wrote these down in a table form last week and we did our lesson focusing on tempo. What kind of word would I use to describe this piece? Okay, so hope you had a chance to listen to it just then. You'll have heard that it's really quite fast. And you'll see on the music here that Mozart uses the word allegretto, which means fairly quick and lively. Let's make a note of this tempo marking in our score now. So I'm just going to underline this allegretto so that I know that it means fairly quick and lively. So you can make sure you've got a note of that as well in your score. So we're going to have a think about tonality again now, and you should be really familiar with the tonality of this piece by now. We know that we find it in the key signature over here, and we're going to use this sharp to help us. So with our sharp key signatures, we go to the last sharp, which is this one. Every good boy deserves football, so it's an F sharp. We go up one note to G, so we know that this piece is in G major. To make a note of this in our score, I just want to circle these key signatures here, even just the F sharp like that, all in the same colour, so I know that I'm talking about that, and just write tonality equals G major. So that brings us to the end of this lesson. Make sure that you have all of these annotations in your score, because we're going to add some more next lesson, and have a great afternoon or evening.